Welcome to One with me, Irwin Edgehill. First and foremost, as always, please keep liking and subscribing, and also keep your questions coming. And you can do these two things by clicking on the link below. Let's get started. The first question I have is from Bill in Romford in Essex. Hi Bill, thank you for your question. Bill says, Irwin, I'm currently in a comfort zone and I really don't like it. How can I stretch out and stay out more often than not? Good question, Bill. I think first and foremost, Bill, what we've got to do, we've got to understand that most people that we see in any given moment, to one degree or another, are in a comfort zone. So that should make us feel a little bit better in terms of we're not on our own with this. But in answer to your question, how can we stretch out of a comfort zone and stay out of it more often than not? We've got to understand a concept that is dear to my heart called the 4 stages to freedom. The reason why it's dear to my heart, Bill, because I was in a situation as you are in now many, many years ago, and it was only when I got this information that things started to make sense, and then slowly it started to transform. So as I mentioned, this concept is called the 4 stages to freedom. So it could be any kind of freedom that an individual wants to stretch out of the comfort zone to. Now, in order for us to complete this concept, what I want you to do is watch it as many times as you can, because there is a school of thought which is true. Repetition is the mother of skill. The more we do something over and over and over again, that's what's going to show up. Unfortunately, Bill, most people do the negative things over and over again, and that's what shows up. So we're going to try and change this with this concept. So, 4 stages to freedom, any kind of freedom. We've first got to recognise, as you've done, Bill, that we're in a comfort zone. Now, your comfort zone, as you can testify to, is anything that's comfortable but comfortably bad. So, as an example, a person could be in a comfort zone at this moment in time with their health, don't exercise, don't eat the right foods. It's not what they want, it's not where they want to be, but because they're used to being in that situation, they're comfortable with it. A person could be in a relationship at this moment in time, Bill, business, platonic or romantic. Again, it's not what they want, it's not really where they want to be, but because they're so used to being in that situation, it's now become comfortable. So your comfort zone, as I keep mentioning, is anything that's comfortable, but comfortably bad. So, the first step is to recognise that you're in a comfort zone. The second step is for an individual to start to reason and think about the current situation being in this comfort zone. So the second stage is the letter R for reason. Once that person has done all the reasoning and thinking about why they want to stretch out of that comfort zone and stay out more often than not, they then move into the third stage. And the third stage is the letter U. And the letter U stands for unknown or uncomfortable. And that's because, Bill, anytime we move in to do something new that we've not done before, it feels uncomfortable, but it only feels uncomfortable because it's the unknown. So once we're at this stage, in terms of stretching out of our comfort zone to do something different and better for ourselves, we've got to understand that at this stage, which is the crucial stage in my opinion, we've got to put the word Y on the top of the U, and we've also then got to stack up those Y's in terms of why we want to be in this uncomfortable situation, even though it's positive, but nevertheless it's uncomfortable, why we want to be in this uncomfortable situation. Because by stacking our Y's up, Bill, eventually, sooner rather than later, we're going to move into the final stage, which is freedom. So we're now at a point where we're in a situation, living our lives, doing the thing that we want to do. Now, as you can see, it's a basic concept. There's only 4 letters. But the problem is, in terms of why you have never gravitated out of your comfort zone for a long period of time, is because, as I mentioned, your Y's haven't been stacked up. But also, crucially, Bill, at the point of reason, we often do one of 2 things. We'll listen to our negative self-talk. I've tried this before. and I don't think it's going to work. And if we work on the premise that we become what we think about most of the time, sure enough, that's what's going to show up. And we zoom back to the comfort zone. Or we turn to the left or the right of us, Bill, and we say to the person to the left or the right, I'm planning on doing this, what do you think? And in most cases, most people will say, you've tried it before, Bill, or you've tried it before, Irwin. What makes you think it's going to work again? And we're like, yeah, you're right. And we zoom back to that comfort zone. And then we find ourselves back in this comfort zone, which is a bad spot. And we want to get out of this comfort zone. And because we don't understand this concept, in particular in terms of stacking our whys up, we move back to the comfort zone again. And eventually it ends up like mental gymnastics. And we give up and quit. And the reason why we've given up and quit, the reason why you're still in your comfort zone is simply because A, we don't understand how this works, but most crucially, when we get to the third stage, we haven't got our whys stacked up as to why we want to move into that fourth stage. Because it's by having those whys stacked up, when we get that negative feeling, or we get people saying to us, I don't think you'll do it, we can look at those whys and say, no, this is why I'm doing this, and this is why I'm going to stay in this third stage. And eventually, Bill, we move into the fourth stage, which is super duper freedom. So, do yourself a favour, Bill. Study this concept and study it to the point where you actually understand it. And they always say that we can only understand something that we can explain to someone else and they understand it. So get emotionally involved in it. And once you get emotionally involved in it, I kid you not, you'll never, ever, ever stay in your comfort zone again. And that's primarily because you now understand how this thing works. The 4 stages to freedom. Hope that makes sense, Bill. Thank you for your question. Really good question. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.